No, lovely. Yeah, we're very honored to have you today, and really, we're going to discuss some good things that I think people really need to hear.
Sure.
All right. Mr. Demompana, just like without wasting any kind of time, we just like wanted to know, to begin with help, that's like, help us understand what is the Global Money Week and why is Lesotho, why as Lesotho do we observe the Money Week slightly?
Sure, thanks, Tibu.
Yeah.
Let me first also begin by also greeting co-host Stable Steps.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
As well as the ultimate listener.
Yes, sir.
So Global Money Week is a worldwide initiative that's intended really to promote financial literacy and inclusion, particularly for the young people.
Okay.
So in Lesotho, what we have done is we've realized the realities that we have and acknowledge that we really can't do much with the week. There's just so much that we need to do. So the financial institutions of the country advise themselves to say, look, let us have a month-long campaign that is led by the Central Bank of Lesotho through the Financial Education Steering Committee, just so that we really do impart the knowledge, the skills, but more importantly, the attitudes and the behaviors that are required for one to make good financial decisions and ultimately realize good financial security or financial freedom for themselves and their families.
Sure. Yeah, that's lovely. That's very lovely because like we see a lot of people are just like having or struggling with finances. Yeah. Some of them they can just like as good at money, and some of them can just like get just like a morsel or just like a mega money, but they do better things. Yeah.
So I think the key, which we'll probably get into in our discussion, is when you realize that a lot of times when you talk about money, we tend to focus on the income. A lot of magic is done on the expense side. How do you control your expenditure? That's where you find that a lot of people become successful or not successful. Sure.
I was actually surprised to see that it's not about a big paycheck. For you to render yourself as successful sometimes, because we still struggle to manage how we allocate this money, how we manage this money. I mean, it's been difficult ever since.
Yeah, true that. So now, like, what is the purpose behind the local vision for Money Month?
Yeah, so I'll take back. So the theme for this year was Smart Money Talks. So each year they'll have a theme that they use. This year we went with Smart Money Talks, where we want to encourage everyone, but particularly the young people, to have open, honest, and informed conversations regarding money. How do you manage money? How do you make sound financial decisions? And I think what is topical nowadays is how do you avoid being scammed? There's a lot of these things that are going on. How do you see what's a good investment, what's not a good investment? So that's what the theme for this year really is. Sure.
Because to be honest, we don't know where to put our money. Right? We don't have that knowledge.
We have the forexes, we have the cryptos, and that's why he says there are a lot of scams that are happening. Yes, those things are true. They are here, they're available. You can do that, but now are you doing it like with reputable companies, very authentic ones? You understand? Because now we learn a lot from like the internet and everything else. Like the information we get it from there, and they can also make it more convincing that this company exists while it's not actually existing at all. Yeah. So how do we know that?
That's an interesting question. So, in our discussion, what I want us to do, because I think where you are, you're a couple of steps ahead.
Okay.
You are where we're talking about now. How do I discern between legitimate and non-legitimate investment choice? But I want us to take a step back.
Okay.
I want us to really take our listener back to say, what is this concept?
What is this concept?
Of investing? Because you really, Stable Steps saying we're struggling to where do we put our money?
Yeah, true.
So I want us to take a step back before we talk about things that are complicated.
Okay.
Let's start what that is. So for me, the way we define investing is you want to commit your money where there's an expectation that you're going to earn a financial return.
True.
So it's very important that we use the word expectation. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to inherent within yourself when you're investing. There's an element of risk that your money may not come back. So once you to your question already, once you start hearing people that are guaranteeing you certain returns, that is already a red flag in itself. Because if you're investing, it's really in a promise or you're in an expectation that look, we might get something in a couple of times. But it's also important that we also understand the reasons why people do invest and why they should invest. So I usually categorize that in about 5 categories.
Okay.
The first one is you have got a bit of money, you want to preserve its value. So if you've got 5 rand or 50 rand today and you're able to buy sweets with it today, you want to be able to still afford the same 5 years from now. So that's capital preservation. You don't want it to be purchasing power to be eroded by inflation. You always hear our parents saying, when I grew up, this used to cost this much. This is what it costs now. You also have people that invest for income generation. This could be whether you've just gotten a large windfall of money and now you need to get regular income flows from that. That's another reason why people would invest, whether you're going for retirement, and then you've got retirement, or whether you're changing jobs and you've got a little money that's coming up. That's some of the reasons people invest. We also have, which I think, which is where Stable Steps is coming from, capital appreciation. You're investing because you want to grow your money or you want to grow wealth. And there's also 2 aspects there, whether you want to do that on a conservative basis or you want to do that a bit more aggressively. Each of that has its own risks and rewards. Some of the more financially savvy people will also invest because they want to take advantage of the tax system that we have in place. So that's some of the reasons. But for the normal everyday person, we usually invest just so that we meet our everyday goals. So I want to go on a holiday in 6 months' time. So that is important that you understand that before you even get into shares. Why? Because that informs the type of investments that you can make. So you want to, first of all, be very clear of why is it am I putting this money away? Is it for tomorrow or is it for 20 years from time? So that's very important.
Very informative.
Very. So now let's talk about investing. Like you were saying, we're talking about investing for you listening right now who may not like have a financial background or even like financially savvy. So how would you just like explain the basics of like investing? But in unit trust, trust bonds of shares, like you just like mentioned a little bit right now.
So that's what I wanted to talk about, to say before we really venture into the shares, the bonds, let us have that clarity as to
what is investment, why are you investing and what is investment.
There's also another important question before that, is whether should you be investing. That's a critical question. What we usually talk about is to say it's two aspects. One, can you afford to invest? And should you invest? And we break that down to say, look, a lot of people, when they've got a bit of money, they've got some debt on hand, but they want to appear as financially there. So they'll put money towards investment. But the question is that the best use of your money? Are you better off investing that money in shares, bonds, and all of those, as you mentioned, or are you better off dealing with your debt obligations that you currently have in place? So that's something that I also wanted us to just touch on before we get into the weeds of it. So when we talk of can I afford to, a lot of people will say, will be saying, hey, this discussion is not for me to begin with. Look, I'm struggling to make ends meet here. You're talking about investing in shares. But I want to pose a couple of questions to your listener, and then just get a sense. You can do this on your own time. There's 3 questions that we use as a quick test to say, can you afford to invest? The 3 questions are: 1, have you ever taken a short-term loan or a personal loan of any nature? That's the first question. The second part of that is, were you able to meet your loan obligations? So were you able to pay it on time? If you're supposed to pay it on a monthly basis, were you able to do so? And the third question is whether did you need to borrow money from somewhere else to fulfill those loan obligations? And I don't know if any one of you wants to take a crack at those questions just before I make my point.
It's a very interesting one. Yes. Personal loans, I believe, almost everyone who is working, because we are actually less informed, We actually jump in. So for the sake of the argument, and also trying to get information from this, just to get the most out of what you're trying to say. Yes, we have taken personal loans. Yes. Let's start it there. Yes. Paying them off, yes, on time, because probably you're like, you had an installment, a fixed installment, so they're pulling the money straight from the treasury, straight into repaying that debt, right? What's the third one?
The third one is, did you have to borrow to pay that loan? You make means within whatever you have.
Not really, but that's the only part that I would say zero. I want to take that as a scenario. It's going to make it easier for our listeners to understand.
So in that very scenario, the way exactly you responded, we didn't rehearse this. So most people are like that. they would have taken a loan and they would have paid it off. And I like the fact that he says because it's automated, and those that loan obligations are paid. But he also says he didn't borrow to pay that. So once you answer those questions in that fashion, it means you can afford to invest. Why am I saying this? Because if you are the money that you're using towards those loan dependents is clearly not going towards your basic needs, because you're still able to feed yourself, you're still able to clothe yourself. So just on that premise, you need to understand that the fact that you can take out a loan and pay it back on time, it means you do have some freedom. You just have to look to that point that we talked about earlier. Look at the way you're controlling your expenses. And that's where the magic happens, to say, let me control my expenses so that I can pay off this loan. So when we talk about investing, we usually think of it as a luxury. Once I've done everything else, but no. What we also need to do is to say, look, let me control my expenses so that I can do this investing. That's the first part. Now, the question that I ask is whether you should invest. That's the second one, that most people don't ask themselves that question. It's very critical. Why am I saying this is a critical question? Because the way we think of investing is, I said it's about you committing money so that you can get a financial return.
Yes.
Right? But you need to ask yourself, is this the best use of my money? I'll use scenarios. So people usually talk about financial freedom, we want to be financially secure, but there's levels to this thing. Right? So there's people that are in survival mode, where their incomes is less than their expenses. Those people should not be investing. What those people should be focusing on is one, checking where their money is going, controlling where the expenses that they have, and committing to growing their ability to earn an income. So those people should not be investing in your shares, your unit trust, as you mentioned them, but they should be investing in themselves. Going to school if you need to do a higher level so that you can get an extra job, or taking on a side hustle. That's what you should be focusing on, as opposed to trying to put money towards investing. You also have people that we say they are solvent. These are people that have their income is almost equal to their expenses. Those people as well, they should not be investing. Those people should be, one, we talked about everyone has a debt that to try and make ends meet. At that point, what you need to be focusing on is reducing the amount of high interest debt that you have got. Why? Because the interest rate on debt is much higher than whatever returns you're going to get on when you're investing, especially if you do legitimate investments. So you want, again, putting your money where it is best used. So take care of your debt, right? And also you have a few assets. Maybe you've got a car, maybe you've got your laptops or whatever it is that you've got in your house. Make sure that those are insured. Why? Because the next thing, if something happens to your car or if something happens to your assets, what you're going to do, you're going to borrow money. So we want you to avoid that by first making sure that your assets, they are insured. And importantly, now you start, if you've got a little bit of money then left, you, after taking care of what you're controlling your debts, looking at you protecting your assets, you also want to start putting money towards savings, not investments, savings. Just so that, again, should anything happen, should an emergency take place, you don't go seeking debt. You start first of all by dipping into your savings. So that's what we are looking at. Then we'll go to people that are a bit more stable. Now this is where we're saying you've got your emergency savings. They can last you a couple of months. Now at this point you can start to consider investing. So it's very important that we look at that. And then of course when you look far ahead, there are those people that we are now saying they're financially secure, they're financially free. These are the people that now the investment income that they get from their investments is able to meet their basic expenses. So it's very important when I make this discussion. Yes, we're not looking at expenses as you see them on when you look at your bank statement. No. I'm only focusing on your basic expenses. Because a lot of times we take on expenses that are really luxurious in nature and say these are needs. I'm talking about your primary needs. Is your income exceeding your primary needs? Okay, if not, let's focus on ensuring that you increase our income. And so on and so forth.
After this, I realized there's a lot of decluttering that we need to do. I'm actually looking at that template and I'm like, I've actually been getting it wrong all the time.
True. All right, that's the way it is, ladies and gentlemen. And remember to talk here today. We just like talking smart money talks and how can you as young people treat money as an investment. That's the way it is, and we just like getting very sage and very insightful information. But let's just like break it easy right now, and together we're still writing. Let's just like go for a break. We're coming back. Just defined contribution protection fund. Yeah, today we're talking smart money talks. So that's the way things are just going on. So now, Mr. Pana, we found that okay, many young people often like wonder when it is like a right time to like start investment. So now, is investing somehow done by wealthy people, or anyone can just like do it regardless of their income, right? Yeah, you just like explain a little bit of it. But now, who is liable to invest?
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. Everyone should invest. Or everyone should aspire to invest rather. But the thing is, we also need to think, first of all, beginning by what is the end? What are we trying to achieve? What we are trying to do is we're trying to build financial security for ourselves. We're trying to build financial freedom for our families. So as we mentioned just before we went on the break, if you think of the concept of building, it starts with a foundation, right? If you look at any building, for it, especially if you want to do a large, big building. So the way we look at it, the things that we were speaking about before we went on break, one, before you start investing, looking at your own situation. What does your debt profile look like? Do you have a lot of high interest debt? If there is, start first by reducing that, putting that under control, right? And then there's ways to do so. And then the next thing is, do you have savings? So those are the two primary building blocks.
Okay.
What you want to do is, emergencies happen, right? And they are not planned for. So what you want to do is, in those instances where you've got things that were not planned for that take place, you don't find yourself forced as a first port of call to go and borrow, because the interest rate that you get there is too high. Right? It's much higher than whatever you're going to get on investment. So it would be inefficient for you as a young person that's listening here to have money invested somewhere in, say, 10%, and you also have a personal loan there where you're paying about 18 to 25%. The mathematics there doesn't make sense. So first of all, you're better putting that money towards that debt, and then at least once you think it's under control, then you can look at this aspect of investing. Now, we talk about debt, right? A lot of people find this to be a black hole to say, how would I be able to get out of that? There's a couple of strategies that different people use. And psychologically, people want to use, I think it's an avalanche method. So you start with the smallest loan. Right? Okay. The smallest, so if you've got a couple of loans, you take the smallest one, and then you start paying that one first off. Right? That is good because you're going to feel good that, look, I used to have this loan here, it's done. What I would say is, what I would, if I was someone that would be sitting across from you at the table, I would say, first of all, look at the debt with the highest interest rate. And then start with that one. Okay. So that is a snowball effect. I could be getting them the other way around. But you start with the one with the highest interest rate, because that's the one that is really taking advantage of your money, right? And then the simple thing that other people say, look, maybe I don't have what it takes there. What you could do as a low-hanging fruit is, if you've got debt here, you've got debt there, you've got debt there, what you could do, which is everyone that can do, is consolidate that debt. Take all of that debt to one party. Why is that? Why am I saying that? Because each of those loans will have an inherent or attached to it administrative fee. Whether it will be 50 maluti or 100 maluti that's going out every month, just for administration purposes. So if you've got 3 loans, you've got 300 maluti liabilities. But if you consolidate that into one, the interest rate, you could probably get a better interest rate, but importantly, you now only pay one administration fee. So that's just some of the things that you can do. And then the question of whether when would you start investing, is it for the wealthy? I think that one we debunked earlier when we spoke about one, just look at your ability to spend. So if you've got those 2 blocks where you've got your savings under control, you've got a little bit of savings, then you can invest. It doesn't matter. We spoke about this earlier. The key thing is control your expenditures. And that's the key thing that will allow you to invest. It's not something that is done by the wealthy, but it is something that people who are wealthy have done.
Ooh, lovely, lovely. So now we are living in an era of like the social media influencers. People just like drive expensive cars claiming it's investment. So what are the practical steps that young person should take to like verify if an investment opportunity is actually legitimate or not before committing their money?
Sure. So I'll start with the first part. What we see on Instagram and all of those platforms. There's a very nice saying that I've heard, which says, don't let the pressure of those who are eating the fruit make you eat your seed. Right?
Well said. Can you say that again?
So it says, don't let the pressure of those eating their fruit make you eat your seed. Right? So it's very critical. When you see people munching out here, you don't know what they're eating. Are they eating seed? Is it harvest? Or is it so you don't want to find yourself whatever little seed, we talk about seed capital. So whatever little that you have that you're meant to put to work so that you get to have fruit. You don't want to find yourself eating that. Because once you're eating your seed, you have nothing.
True.
This person eating fruit, next harvest season, there's more fruit to pick up.
Why?
Because they would have invested their seed to So that's the first part when you look at the people, what's happening on Instagram and all of those things. Now, the next part when you're looking at discerning whether things are legitimate or not, as there's the cliche that says if something is usually looks too good to be true, it usually is. So I'll leave that one as is to say. If that's the case, that's usually the case. But now let's get more practical. You said, how do you then discern whether something is a legitimate investment or not? Right? The first thing that you want to do if you're going to invest, you want to conduct due diligence. Right? If it's a financial product that you're looking to invest in, that would be regulated. So you'd want to check with the Central Bank of Lesotho whether it's this entity that I'm dealing with that is selling me a financial product. Is that a licensed institution? You can go on their website. They've got a list that they update, I think, on a quarterly basis to say these are all the institutions that are licensed to sell financial products in the country. That would be the first thing that you do, right? The second thing would be to look at the actual product that you're being sold, whether is that product approved by the same central bank, right? And you can engage with them. It's very easy to talk to them. But you also want to say that this institution, I've never heard of it before. How long has this institution been operating? Right? Because you want to ensure that there's a proper track record behind this institution before you even deal with whatever has been said. Now, once that is done and you've ticked those boxes, you first of all need to ask yourself, do I understand this product or do I understand this investment opportunity? Right? As a principle, you don't want to invest in things that you don't understand. So you take your time, you engage with whoever is selling the product to you to say, what is this product? And how is it going to generate an income? Right? All of us know that when we see someone that's selling sweets on the street, if they're selling that sweets for 20 cents, they are likely would have bought it for 10 cents. So the way they're making money, the difference between their selling price and the cost price. Right? So with all investments, it always follows the same principle. Right? You have to understand, where is this margin being made? This return that I'm being promised, where is it going to come from? Is it going to come from me then inviting my friends to come and invest in the same thing, and then only then do I get a return? That is not an investment. There we're talking Ponzi schemes. So you've got to understand what is this product, right? And importantly, you should not rely on hearsay. Not just what the salesperson is telling you. Say, give me some documentation. Let me go read it over. Let me take my time. Because all financial products should have documentation. It should have legitimate sources or letterheads and all of that. And importantly, whenever you're in doubt, you should always seek counsel from the wise. Right? You should always talk to either a financial advisor or someone that you know that's astute with things that are investing or whatever is the case. So that's what you do. But you want to take your time. You should never be pressured to say, look, you have to invest and you have to invest today. No, that is usually another red flag to say, maybe this is not for me. And then words like guaranteed returns, those are other red flags. They are meant to lure you in, because a lot of times we are aware of the financial situations we're in. We're in that survival mode that I mentioned earlier, where our incomes are less than expenses. So people want to leverage of that. Right? They want to prey on that. The fact that they know that we want better lives for ourselves. But if you're going to invest, you need a very sober mind. You need to take your time, and you need to go through the steps that I've just shared with you.
When you just feel dumbfounded and just thinking of things that have been going on and everything else. People are like that. You understand? So now it seems like our time is already gone. Okay.
I just want to, I just need to understand where we can get, access to some of this information, because, our time is limited, and also the way our brains are actually wired. It's not like we can consume all this information and make use out of it, by just listening to it first time, right? Is it going to be available anywhere for our public to gain access to it, so that next time they make better informed financial decisions?
Yeah, so I think, well, I'll start first of all with this program that we are on now. Unfortunately, we've got our counterparts that are streaming this live, so usually that will stay there for a bit. But in terms of general financial information, there usually is a lot of it on the same website, on the same internet that we frequent. So next time, as opposed to going on Instagram, maybe just go on your search web and say how to be financial savvy. All of those. So a lot of time we underutilize the internet for things that are beneficial to us. We look at it to look at fashionable cars and all this. So that's some of the information that we can get. There's a lot of books around this, but there's a lot of podcasts as well. There's a lot of information that people are trying to share and impart. So it's just about what you want. If you're interested in learning about property, look at investing, there's a lot of property podcasts. If you're looking to learn about shares, there's a lot of podcasts on shares. So whatever it is that you're trying to put money towards, and there's a lot of places that you can find information. Now, but back to deal with it, just before I leave, there's something that I wanted to share with our listener. It's from a book. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's about 80 pages to 100 pages. That's how long that book is, or how short that book is. Now, in that book, you're going to find 7 cures of empty wallets. It's just 7 things to say, look, these are the things that you can do to cure an empty wallet, or maybe a not so bulging wallet, if I want to add to that. So first of all, it says, save 1/10 of all income. Not of your salary.
Yeah, 1/10.
Not of your salary.
Yes.
Of all income. So it says if you've got a van and then you also, on the weekend, take trips, take people, stock from A to B, try and save 1/10 of that as well. You save when you get the income. You don't save at the end of your expenses. Right? That's the first one. 2, we've talked about this and we've hammered this. And this is the only way that you get to become, move up on the financial security levels. 1, control expenditure. Right? It's not about how much you make. Right? It's about what you're spending. So control your expenditure. That's the second one. The third one is those savings that we talked about. Put them to work. So the question is that work being towards servicing my debt, or is that work being towards investing? Put those savings to work. There's one that talks about owning a home. I'll leave that one for today. But insure for your future. We talked about it. If you've got any assets, make sure that those are insured. Because if anything happens to them, if you've got a very nice TV at your house, if anything happens to if there's a burglary or it breaks or whatever,
it's a problem.
It sets you back quite a bit. So make sure that those are done, right? Importantly, increase your ability to earn. Right? That's the 6th one. Always increase your ability to earn. And we control our expenses, but we can control them to an extent. Right? We still have to eat. We still have to clothe. We still have to have roof over our heads. So increase your ability to earn. The 7th one, I just spoke about it as well. Always seek counsel from the wise. You know people in your families that you think this guy looks like what they're doing. Those people. You know financial advisors. If you've got that bit of money that you can spend on that, you can use those. But we can also use the wise, could also be your podcasts. There's people there that are sharing this information free of charge. You're on YouTube, you're on Wi-Fi somewhere. And take that time, ask those people by asking questions on your YouTube and to say, how do I invest in this? You're going to find there's so many podcasts, there's so many videos on how to do that. So these are the 7 cures that's it. They'll help you cure an empty wallet. One last thing from my end is investing is not this glamorous thing that people look at when they see the internet. This thing that overnight is going to get you there. For me, investing is literally just like watching a tree grow. So if you're sitting there and you're looking at it, you're going to think
until you enjoy the shadow or the shade of it. Yes.
So what you have to do, the discipline first of all, to put that seed into the ground. The discipline to every day water that tree, even though you're not seeing anything, but the roots are being planted, right? And then over time, what you're going to see is
germinates.
10 years from now, 20 years, 30 years from now, your kids are now enjoying the shade of that tree.
Even the fruits.
Exactly.
Even the fruits.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know, I'm just like overwhelmed, and this is like what a very interesting information that we just like received today. And I do believe that you at home or wherever you are at the moment of time, that you actually content with what we just like brought you today. Ultimate Radio, this is like Mr. Mpana on our radio. And Mr. Mpana is actually investment manager at public offices like a defined contribution pension fund. So what's your last word to the people right now? Just like direct message to them.
Yeah. I'm going to be controversial. We've taken.
No, it's okay. Yes.
Controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So money is not the enemy. I say this. There's a program that I tend to watch a lot. It's called "I Blew It."
Yes.
So I usually find that show to be quite fascinating.
Yeah.
These are people that are getting large windfalls, and a lot of them, they seem to be determined to get rid of this money. You hear people that are using money as straws. Right? Because they've got so much money. But that money is not an enemy. The money is not something that you should be keeping away or really intentionally getting rid of it. Money is there to make sure that you and your loved ones are taken care of. But take care of that money. Put that money to good use. Always.
Yes, always.
So the question that I would leave your listeners and yourselves with is my money working hard enough? Wherever it's put, is it working hard enough for me? That is it.
Okay. Mr. Mpana, we really want to thank you so much for coming through and sharing this very good information with us and the listeners. And really, we've learned a lot as people as well. You understand? We might be here, but we're not that savvy enough to in different aspects of life. You understand? We just are here, we're working, we just focusing on the job that we're doing, and then bringing people like you actually really it's of great importance to our people. Content for people to be there.
Yeah, and thank you really for one, creating the space and time for us to come through to talk about this. We really appreciate it. Again, just another note that it's still Money Month. It ends on the 9th of May.
Yes.
And we're talking, so even if you go on, I think there's a Money Month sort of page on Facebook, you're going to see all the initiatives that were done. I think this year people were in Mafte, but really there's a lot of initiatives. So let us really talk about money. The theme was Smart Money Talks. Talk to your friends about money. Let's not talk about money as this fictitious, once it's here, I'm going to spend. No. I think that's where we get a draw. Right? This is what I'm going to build so that it grows.
And it's discipline.
Exactly. So discipline is everything into this. It's not something... it's not something that you make other people feel you. Money is not meant so that your enemies can hear that you're here. You hear people buying bottles of Hennessy. No. That's not.
You pride yourself I finished one bottle yesterday. I've got that.
That's not what money is for. Build assets, let them work for you, so that at the end of the day, your investment income can finance whatever lifestyle that you choose.
Yeah, true.
Beautiful.
All right. Mr. Mpana, we really want to thank you for coming through, man.
No, thank you so much.
All right. Ultimate Radio, that's the way.